DC's quality has been up and down more than a working girl's drawers over the past decade and change in front of the camera, but one thing that they have been generally good at, all things considered, gotta give the devil his due, is when it comes to casting, okay? Is anybody going to dispute how pitch perfect Henry Cavill was for Superman? Sure is a shame he didn't get quality material to back up that excellent casting, and Ben Affleck as a older Batman? Not bad at all, not bad at all. And even if there was going to be a new take on Aquaman, you could have done a hell of a lot worse than Jason Momoa, who has just made his entire career on being this aloof, too cool for the room, but also somehow relatable, generally a likable guy. You did the best that you could with what you had, and then also, no, we don't need to pay too close attention to Gal Gadot or Jesse Eisenberg. But the one trait that is carried over to James Gunn's brand new DCU, or whatever the heck he wants to call it on any given day, is actually, at least for Superman so far, we have seen excellent casting. David Cornsweet, yeah, he does end up looking like a great value version of Henry Cavill, but he does fit the role. Lois looks like Lois. Jimmy Olsen's a ginger, but Perry White is, well, a little bit more Perry Off-White. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, I mean, a tremendous step up that time around, and now we're taking a look at the grander scope of the upcoming DCU, and while the follow-up film to Superman was supposed to be The Authority, now it's going to be Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and we know who the big bad, or one of the big bad over the top of this is going to be, and which I certainly hope Lobo isn't a one-and-done villain. I mean, he's one of DC's heavy hitters, and if you're going to be bringing back Jason Momoa to a role and fulfill a fan casting that has been long in the making for a very, very long while, I mean, ever since they announced that the DCEU was going to get rebooted, dropping the E and lightening the tone, Jason Momoa as Lobo has been around forever. Kind of like how John Krasinski was fan cast as Reed Richards. Hopefully James Gunn treats Momoa a little bit better in this role, but it's interesting, right? Because the DCU was supposed to be a clean break from the DCEU, and the more as time went on and James Gunn got enough rope to hang himself, we started to come to the conclusions that, oh, right, yeah, he wants to reboot the DCEU, except for the stuff that he wants to co-sign. The Suicide Squad, oh, that's very much in the canon. Peacemaker and everything that he's doing, which it's going to be interesting to try to reconcile how Jason Momoa's Aquaman was in season 1 of the Peacemaker, but now we don't really need to worry about that. There will be a throwaway line in this for the Supergirl movie, if and when that comes out. Because as much as I think that this is excellent casting, it'll be very interesting to see Jason Momoa play an outright bad guy. I think that could be very interesting. But if Superman doesn't hit like Warner Brothers, like DC, like the superhero complex needs it to, all of this stuff is going to be superfluous. Warner Brothers really needs Superman to hit, okay? This is a company that is drowning in debt. DC, for as much as it has its ardent supporters that's out there, when it comes to public perception, they are very much the second place company. You have 2 of the 3 biggest superheroes in the entire world, and you have floundered at the box office for over a decade. How do you even reconcile that? It doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. But when you realize that, oh yeah, Warner Brothers is the one that's ultimately pulling the strings, it makes more sense. So yes, you need to nail Superman. Not like that, but like that. Otherwise, your excellent casting for Lobo won't mean a damn thing. And so what are we, a couple of weeks removed from the trailer dropping, which I am, I don't want to say I'm disappointed, because that would imply that I thought that this was going to knock it out the park. I just thought it was fine. Okay, it is the perfect 5 out of 10 trailer that I've seen. Whole bunch of scenes, not really telling you much about the movie, but not really putting me off towards it. I'm gonna have to see more. I'm intrigued to see more, so I guess maybe a 6, but nothing higher than that. But as I also pointed out, this is very much James Gunn's project. He put his name all over the top of it. The way that he marketed it, more than just Superman himself, a return to form. For the OG superhero, this was a James Gunn production, the director behind Guardians of the Galaxy. He also needs this to be a hit, because if this comes out and it does $600 million, if it just barely breaks even, not only is Warner Brothers going to be out on their ass, but James Gunn is going to be hard pressed to find work again. Remember the guy who created $2 billion movies for Star Wars? When was the last time we heard from that guy? What's his name? I can't quite remember, but yeah, he had a couple of hits, right? But nothing after that. And James Gunn, okay, for as much as he wants to market it as, oh my god, yeah, he's the brainiac behind Guardians of the Galaxy. None of those three films pulled $1 billion. This needs to far surpass $1 billion. Not so much for it to just simply break even, because we've seen the tax documents and its budget is well in excess of $360 million. I think it's somewhere in that area. So we know with standard movie math, the 2.5, 3 times multiplier, yeah, you need $1 billion for this to be a banger, for this to properly launch your would-be universe. So then when I hear things like this, James Gunn says beat up Man of Steel and Superman trailer meant to represent the current state of America. I believe that most people in this country, despite their ideological beliefs, their politics, are doing the best they can to get by and are good people. So yeah, not trying to ruffle any feathers, just simply trying to speak to human universals. I like that. It's especially a big departure from what we normally hear out of Hollywood. And while it might just be vague platitudes, it might just be a whole bunch of nothing, a bunch of empty bloviating from a sleazy car salesman, it sounds better and it resonates more than what you're used to hearing from people attached to comics, where if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book or watch my movie. You get that from the competition, you get that with Disney. And while I wasn't all that hot on the trailer, but then again, that implies that I was negative towards it, which definitely wasn't, okay? There has been a ton of discussion in the past week and a half since it dropped. And it's the good kind of discussion, you know, the inclusion of crypto, the suit, speculating as to what we're going to be getting from this film that is absolutely stuffed to the brim with additional characters, trying to figure out if the most anticipated, the biggest movie of 2025 can possibly live up to expectation. But I would imagine the closer we get to that July release date, we're going to be seeing more trailers, we're going to be hearing more insight from James Gunn and the people attached to this, and yeah, maybe we'll be able to fill in some gaps prior to release. I expect the opening weekend to be huge, but if this ends up being the film that Warner Brothers, James Gunn, the entire industry needs and wants it to be, it's going to have legs. This is going to have to be an excellent film. It's going to have to be at least the best Superman film that we have seen in decades, and might have to end up being the best Superman film of all time. Lofty expectations, but it has some supporters that are out there, including somebody who was also attached previously to the DCEU, who might still have a cut of a film that ended up getting butchered as a response to Guardians of the Galaxy, which is kind of funny because I just made that connection right there. But you have David Ayer, who did that abysmal and Academy Award-winning Suicide Squad. Not James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, the original one that came out with Harley Quinn. We're the bad guys. It's what we do. Captain Boomerang and Slipknot, who can climb anything, like that, just insane movie, which apparently there's an Ayer cut that's out there. It is supposed to be more true to what the script was originally intending it to be, prior to a DC and Warner Brothers knee-jerk reaction to Guardians of the Galaxy, wanting to go ahead and reintroduce some humor, some levity, and then handing the editing responsibilities off to a trailer company, which led to that totally disjointed film. And he has been, and especially after the release of the Snyder Cut, which definitely made the Justice League so much better of a film, he's been wanting to have his Ayer cut of his movie out there. And so he's kind of a relic of a deleted timeline. But he also didn't mind the Superman trailer. And because the Snyder heads are just so loving, forgiving, and inclusive bunch, well, they've been on the case of the guy that they've been trying to get the Ayer cut released for a long time just because he liked the trailer. David Ayer claps back at angry Snyderverse fans amid support for James Gunn's Superman trailer. David Ayer striking back at his own supporters after expressing support for James Gunn's new Superman trailer and expanding a DC universe the Guardians of the Galaxy director is trying to establish. And the backlash comes to the same fan base that fervently clings to Zack Snyder's failed Snyderverse continuity and has been aggressively campaigning for Ayer's cut to the 2016 Suicide Squad. Ayer himself supported the fan movement to bring his original cut to the film to life. However, these overzealous fans clearly stepped over the line, eliciting a sharply worded response instead of fostering a collaborative environment. Because, yeah, at the end of the day, David Ayer probably wants back in, probably wants an easy paycheck. So yeah, sucking up to the guy who has an ego only rivaled by Warner Brothers' debt. Yeah, it's probably a smart move for him. Days before Gunn released the highly anticipated Superman trailer, Ayer addressed his followers on social media, urging them to reconsider their aggressive campaign to push his version of the Suicide Squad. Yeah, that's the thing about the Snyderverse people, okay? They're, what's the nicest way to put this? Fucking bonkers. I didn't realize James was dropping Creature Commandos when the last Ayer cut campaign hit. Yeah, Creature Commandos is pretty ass, which is leading people to be incredibly skeptical for the writing of Superman. So yeah, Ayer said on an X post dated December 17th, the new Superman trailer is dropping soon, and I know that there's intentions of another campaign for my version of Suicide Squad. I guess that's what that is. By aligning himself with Gunn's projects, Ayer signaled a shift away from catering to the demanding expectations of the fan base. Or he could just go ahead and take a look at the surrounding area and go, guys, okay, I really do appreciate you guys pushing for my cut. It's probably not going to happen, but I do like the enthusiasm. It's just, let's not rain on somebody else's parade right now. Okay, you can go back, to stumping for my version of Suicide Squad. Okay, I totally like that. Just time and place. But of course, I would show you the response, but I think you already know, generally speaking, how this was taken. So disappointing to see this tweet. How much a suckery are you going to do? Are you going to do, what, WB and Gunn? All the support we showed you, and you dot this. Hey, you're typical Snyderhead. When in reality, David Ayer understands if this film flops, there's absolutely no hope that Warner Brothers would be revisiting anything from him. But while there's still peripheral DC projects that are out there, and if Superman succeeds, which ultimately I think they're banking everything else on, like there's another DC project that we're going to be touching on in the very near future in the next couple of days, that is of course contingent on the success of Superman. David Ayer isn't stupid. Some of his supporters just are. But talking about the health and the prospects of Superman, I mean, I think that face is fairly apropos because there are now people that have seen this. I think it's internal screenings. It says, fan screenings or press screenings or something like that. And well, Principal Photography wrapped up a couple of months ago. What was it, back in June or July? Over the summer, right? They wrapped filming on this. So yeah, there's probably a rough cut that's out there, and there's probably, yes, something that is missing, some special effects, some ADR work that still needs to be done. Just very, very rough, at least screenable to the internals, but nothing that they would want to put out there for prospective audiences to see. But as it sits right now, Superman buzz is not good from people who have seen the film. Oh boy, that's not great. New rumor alleges that the buzz from people who have seen the James Gunn Superman film is not good. This rumor comes from Jeff Snyder during a recent appearance on the Hot Mic Show. Snyder detailed he had a dinner with an insider who knew a number of people who had seen the Superman film and informed him the buzz was not good. Snyder shared the buzz was not good. It's not me trying to take the movie down. Maybe I misphrased the VFX thing. I heard bad things. I'm hearing that you should be worried things. Now, a lot of time between now and July 11th. A lot of things can happen. Sounds like James Gunn is aware of some of the feedback. Sounds like The Hollywood Reporter is aware of some of the feedback. Or they're just keeping that amazing buzz the studio would love to have out there in the Fortress of Solitude. Read between the lines, people. And yeah, so that's coming from a scooper that's out there that, yeah, obviously, tings are a bit touch and go. The rough cut is real rough right now, which, yeah, I would expect, several months out from release. And I would imagine things could get tightened up, but what are they complaining about? We don't know right now. If it's, terrible CGI, that can pass. It just all relies on the script. It relies on your ability to connect with the characters, to be consistent with the overall tone of the film, for this to be a true return to form for Superman. Because like I said before, man, this needs to be not just good, this has to be great. There's a studio, there's a career, there is an entire industry riding on the success of this film. It's an immense amount of pressure, and James Gunn is going to be bringing his A game. It's just, is that going to be enough when it's all said and done? So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.